Welcome back to the channel, Little Flexers, or if you're new here, welcome for the first time. My name is JW Creewall, aka FlexDaddy, and this is the best place to be to learn about the Pokemon TCG and have some fun along the way. Now, I wanted to make this video because this was one of the most absurd games of Pokemon that I have ever seen. The Champions League Sapporo finished up over the weekend. It's one of the major tournaments in the Japanese circuit. There's a few things to note about these kinds of tournaments. They tend to be massive. This was held in a stadium in Sapporo, had 2,800 masters, far eclipsing anything that we've seen here in the West. And it was a best of one tournament where, again, we might play best of three in every round all the way until the finals. They play best of one. So a lot of crazy things can happen. Sometimes the results that you see out of Japan are because players don't have an opportunity to adjust to their opponent's strategies. They might see a deck for the first time. They only get one shot at trying to beat it, and it can make for some pretty crazy finishes to some of these tournaments, and this was one of those. This was one of maybe the best games that I think I have ever seen, and it involved one of my favorite decks, Miraidon. So let's get right into an analysis of the finals from the Sapporo Champions League. So here we have our two players. On the left, our Miraidon player, the hero, and on the right, our Gardevoir player, both making it to the finals, both having outstanding records in this best of one format, and gonna be dueling it out to see who wins. Now, this is it seems to me like I played Gardevoir with my Miraidon deck in the tournament that I won back in October of last year. So I'm really it brings back good memories, I guess. of that matchup here for me as a Miraidon player. So I certainly am pulling for Miraidon to win. They give a little pan to the crowd. They wave. The judges are here to get the match underway, and the players flip, shake hands, and get started. So for Miraidon, you'll actually see something really cool. I love what the Japanese do with their tabletop streams. This kind of panned camera angle is really fun. It reminds me a lot of, what you might see in a sports broadcast with the switching camera angles. So, first person point of view, I like that a lot. Miraidon player doesn't have a ton going on. You see that they just simply pass with a couple of Pokemon in play. That's pretty notable because they're going to have to make up this ground. What you want to do in the Gardevoir matchup as much as you can is pull ahead as early as possible. And if you're not able to get an attack off on turn 2, that gets a lot harder. So we see not even an energy to discard. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is pretty rough here. So we are going to see this Gardevoir player pull out a number of Ralts. I believe they are able to get all 4 Ralts. Yeah, that's 2 Buddy Poffins here with 4 Ralts hitting the bench. Kind of fun. Irida, that full art Irida, grabbing a, looks like Radiant Greninja and an Earthen Vessel. Radiant Greninja and an Ultra Ball. And so going to be setting up their board just a little bit more. I'm going to butcher the names. The player on the right is Rusuke Sasamura, and the player on the left is Akira Kurosaki. So the action pans back to Akira. Has to decide whether or not to play the Bravery Charm. There's nothing here that would really benefit from it. There's really no attacker on the board, of course. Can't power up either of these 2 water attackers. So debating on whether or not to play it before using the professor's research. I think they ultimately should just play it. I don't really see a benefit to not playing it unless you have multiple boards in the deck, multiple of those tools that's on the Greninja. There's a Nest Ball, and finally being able to set up the engine of the deck. Going to grab a Miraidon, presumably. Looking through the deck to find a couple of those important cards. You see him pushing up to the top, the double colorless, or the double turbo, excuse me. The Miraidon obviously going up to the top, checking all the Pokemon here. And just making sure they know what resources they have access to. The electric generators is something that you would want to check here. And going to conclude this nest ball. Now, the Lost Vacuum, I want you to watch this card because certainly in the Gardevoir matchup, Gardevoir's a little bit different than how it used to be. Really relies on the tool cards, the Bravery Charms, to boost the damage of the basic Pokemon like the Drifloon that they try to attack with. So you want to pay attention to whether or not Akira can hold on to the Lost Vacuum or not. So there's a concealed cards, which is interesting. I don't know if I love Radiant Pokemon in Miraidon, but I suppose I'll have to try it out. I mean, this list was pretty interesting in the sense that there wasn't a whole lot going on from the new set. I hate to say boring, but it was very straightforward. You know, Miraidon lists are not very known for being interesting, unique, cool, but this one certainly just kind of checked all the boxes and didn't do anything particularly special. You do have that heavy baton. There might be some opportunity for him to save some energy from an Iron Hands. Obviously, you're seeing very Iron Hands focused with one in the prizes and one on the bench. Obviously, if you can't get a knockout on that first turn, you're best off trying to power up an Iron Hands. That can be a way that you can overcome the Gardevoir deck. If you're able to get Iron Hands set up, you can potentially take up to 4 prizes. It can be hard for your opponent to, at times, respond to an Iron Hand. So I'm sure that is what Akira is trying to set up here for the next turn. See a couple of discards of Psychic Energy. There's that Drifloon. That is the heavy hitter for Ryusuke's deck. We see another Evolve. That's 3. That's 3 of the Curlia in play. And then another refinement. No bench space, though. So that's interesting. No bench space whatsoever. I'm sure that they thought that they would lose a Pokemon here in the early going so they could play the Drifloon, but that is not the case. So for Akira's turn, they will definitely want to be loading up that Iron Hands. We'll see if they're able to. They maybe have a unique decision. I am seeing 3 or 4 Lightning Energy and a Research in hand. Yeah, it looks like... Yeah, that's 4 Lightnings. You want to attach the double turbo if you can, and then you only have to hit 1 off the electric generator as opposed to attaching a lightning and having to hit 2 off the electric generator. So there is the double turbo, and I imagine we will see the Forest Seal Stone from the Raikou go for an electric generator. Searching the deck with the Miraidon, trying to thin just a little bit more. I wouldn't be surprised if they got the Raichu or maybe even another Miraidon, to be honest. Because I imagine that a bench spot is going to be freed up from the Iron Bundle. They should play the bundle this turn. So I would like to see the deck thin just by 1 card before playing the electric generator. And there is 2 energy, which is awesome. You really don't need 2 energy, but you could go ahead and attach 1 energy to the Iron Hands, and then attach another lightning to maybe the Raikou would probably be where I would go with this. And then you also have, you know, of course, you're pushing their active Cresselia out of the active spot with the bundle. So attaching the double turbo doesn't really matter that much. You're only doing, you're doing enough to knock out anything on their side of the board, right? So there's that double turbo. Pushing out the crest, taking out something that they're going to use for draw. And we should see the retreat. I don't know, the Mew coming down seems fine to me as well. I think you might just want that in play. If they attack your Mew, they're not attacking your Iron Hand, so I would just be worried about an Iono. And there's the knockout. Yeah, I don't know. I don't quite agree with that, but that's okay. So here's the Crest. Nothing great on the opponent's side of the field here to knock out with that Cresselia. So look for Risuke to retreat into the... maybe... I mean, Fluttermane doesn't make a lot of sense, I would say, to retreat into that Drifloon and take a knockout with the Bravery Charm attached. There's a Darkness Energy. So if you're wondering what the Darkness Energy is for, there's actually a Munkidori in Risuke's list, and that heals 30 and puts 30 on one of your opponent's Pokemon if it has a Dark Energy attached. So that's a way that you can kind of heal some damage from the Pokemon that you're attaching to with Gardevoir, and that's certainly an idea that I'm going to be trying out for next format. All Reverse Hollow Kirlias, pretty sick. The Irida is going to grab a Super Rod. Super Rod. And then Nest Ball, that should get shuffled back. It does. Look at the crimp on the cards, man. Those cards are like bent in. They're basically bent in half. Oh man, it's awesome. There's like a severe curve to these cards. It's probably due to the warping and all the humidity and stuff, but that's fine. So putting 4 energy on that active Drifloon should be enough here to knock out the active, and yes, indeed. Interestingly enough, I can't remember if there was a Bravery Charm. Was there like a Lost Vacuum on a... Did the Bravery Charm... Was there a Bravery Charm in Akira's hand that he could have attached to the active? Maybe not. Maybe I'm misremembering. So here is another Miraidon play. We are going to go for that Raichu. And I think you just take 2 Pokemon at this point. I don't know what you're necessarily waiting for. You certainly want to be hitting your Lost Vacuums. I guess you have 1 more bench space that you maybe want to use for a second Iron Hands. There's the Bravery Charm, and there is the Lost Vacuum. Lost Vacuum is going to be able to take a knockout on this active Drifloon because it has enough damage that if you remove the Bravery Charm, then you get what essentially amounts to a free prize. Now, where do you go from here? You could take a knockout with the Raikou by just attaching, but you're leaving yourself very vulnerable. Obviously, Raikou having only 200 HP, that should be a pretty easy return knockout. Maybe even by the Gardevoir EX, another 1-prizer. There's a lot of ways to take knockouts on that Raikou. So we do see the Zapdos go to Lost Zone as a result of the Lost Vacuum and a knockout being taken on the Drifloon now. 3 to 4. There will be another prize taken here, I assume, by the Raikou. Now, if you're Akira, you would love to use the Iron Hands if you can on this turn, but it's just not going to be an option. So we see the attach. We should see a Greninja. There's just a ton of energy. And deciding where to put that Bravery Charm, I think, is a great idea, considering you're probably going to be Iono'd next turn. There's Boss, there's Double Turbo, and a bunch of energy. I'm going to need to hope that the Guardy player misses an attack, or that... Yeah, I mean, that's... I think the best thing you could hope for is if Guardy misses an attack here, misses a knockout at least. So there's the Artisan. Gonna dig through the deck. Find the Screamtail. Screamtail hits the bench. And the players shuffle. Munkidori, the Munkidori combo, there it is. And an Iono. So again, Munkidori, that actually might be a way that they can get that extra damage. You see that the Gardevoir EX is in the active, so they can do 190, but with the attachments do damage, and the Munkidori can move the damage. So I actually love this play. They'll move the damage, do 190. That'll be a knockout. Iono to 2. Iono to 2 is insane. So think, oh, and the counter catcher on the Raichu, insane. So the Raichu could have been a way that they just go through the active. The Munkidori going to put 3 damage counters on the active, heal the Gardevoir EX, and knockout. Wow. So, okay, so think about what needs to happen here. There needs to be a one-shot taken on the Gardevoir EX, or there needs to be an Iron Hands knockout on a benched Pokemon. That's the only way that Akira can win. With 2 cards in hand, does have the Mew down on the bench, does have the Greninja. So maybe that's a way to draw a few more cards. Does obviously have the Miraidon to be able to search out the Iron Hands if they decide to go for that play. But this is where things get really, really fascinating. Truly one of the craziest turns that I think I've ever seen in the Pokemon trading card game. You're going to see right here. So there's the Raikou. We'll get to draw an extra card there as well. I like that play. And has Ultra Ball in hand. So searching through the deck with, there is 1 generator. Do I see any more generators? They pulled out 1 generator. Am I crazy? 1 generator? So there's 1 generator, which they would need to hit 2 energy off of. They would need to find their single double turbo, and they would need to find a gust card of some sort, because they can't knock out the active Gardevoir. This is a lot. I mean, even hitting, like needing 1 generator to hit 2 energy is a lot to ask for. But then needing a gust and a double turbo on top of that, you're drawing a fair number, right? You should draw about 6 cards. You got the Mew, so we should see that for 3. And there's a generator. Crazy. I think you have to play the generator first. Try to thin the deck a little bit, and then you can go for the Greninja play. So we do see what looks like the generator being eyed up. Yep, there it is. Generator comes down. And a big 5 cards here. 2 energy. Insane. So that's the first piece of this puzzle. Let's talk about what else needs to happen. You need a gust or some way to push. There's no bench space, so you can't, Super Rod the Iron Bundle back in to push something from the bench. It's literally got to be boss. There is 2. And he gets the boss and the double turbo. He would have had 1 extra draw off of the Raikou, but to hit that off of a concealed cards, that's what I'm saying. This was one of the craziest games that I've ever witnessed, ever. He wins this 2,800 person tournament off of needing the exact 2 cards. That was crazy. So I want to hear what your thoughts are. Was that the craziest game that you've ever seen? For me, I can't think of a crazier one. And let me know in the comments below what games you've had that maybe were in a high pressure situation, or you were playing online, or you were playing with a friend, that you had the best luck imaginable. I want to hear that down in the comment section below. Leave me a comment there. I'll be sure to respond. So that's going to do it for us today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to like and subscribe. Absolutely amazing stuff from this Champions League tournament. That's going to do it for me today, guys. God bless. If I don't see you soon, I'll see you later. And remember, good luck. And also have fun.